The most extraordinary part of the Apollo 11 flight to the moon will start after they get back. A plastic tunnel will be sealed over the hatch of the spacecraft before they're allowed to open it. The beginning of the most rigorous 3 weeks quarantine any human beings have ever had to endure. The astronauts will clamber through into a 30-foot-long travel trailer. Instead of red carpets and brass bands, they'll be greeted inside by a doctor and a technician. Volunteers who'll remain shut in with them, risking infection from any moonbugs they may have caught. The rescue ship, having recovered the astronauts in the Pacific, will make full speed for the nearest land, probably Hawaii. And there the mobile trailer and its precious cargo, 5 men, 50 pounds of rock and soil from the moon, and the first films ever taken on the lunar surface will be swung ashore. It could take 8 days before the travel trailer reaches its destination at Houston and is backed up against the airlock into the specially built Lunar Receiving Laboratory. Inside that, another 13 scientists and technicians, more volunteers to share their exile, will be waiting. And at last, a glimpse of the outside world. For 3 weeks after the first moon landing, this is the nearest that the wives of Armstrong, Collins and Aldrin will get to their husbands. For the 3 astronauts will be hermetically sealed behind that plate glass, together with any bugs they've brought back from the moon, to make quite certain that they infect neither their wives and families nor the rest of the world. It's cost £5 million and over 4 years in time to develop this special moon laboratory, and the manager of it is Dr. Purser Bell. I gather the astronauts will have to occupy those chairs for many hours when they get back, Dr. Bell.
I'm afraid so. The debriefing officers will be in this room, and they'll be there many hours of questions.
What if one of them falls sick and needs an operation for appendicitis? Will that be possible?
Oh, yes. We have provided for many needed emergencies of that sort. A specialist can be brought in if one is required. We have a small operating room, a dentist chair, x-ray equipment, other facilities for use back there if required. Not expecting it, of course.
Well, these seem to be extraordinary precautions. Do you think there really is any chance of bringing back bugs from the moon?
Well, no scientist expects to find lunar organisms. It's an exceedingly unlikely event, indeed.
But what could happen if there were bugs brought back?
Well, of course, most likely, of course, if we bring some lunar bugs back, nothing will happen, because most likely they will not be able to survive in terrestrial environment. But one must not take any chances. One must not take a risk. So one makes sure whether they're present or not before we go any further with the samples, of course.
Are your scientists back there going to be the men who are going to find out from these lunar samples that the astronauts bring back the origin of the moon?
Well, not really. Our own people will do many of the preliminary investigations, the preliminary examination it's called. We'll just give once over lightly to get a general idea of what these materials are, so we can best distribute it to the other investigators around the world who will really do the investigations, which will tell us what the origin of the moon